light. Oh, my ring light is messed up. I don't know why it keeps falling. I've been adjusting it and adjusting it and adjusting it. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time joining me, my name is OPEEEEN and I am your book bae. Your book bae is in the building. Today I have a very different video. So in some of my previous videos I discussed how I was going to be rating the books that I read in future out of 10, just so there's a control measure that people can see like what I rated the books up against each other. Although I made it very clear that every book is different, I think this is a fun way to just have a more real understanding of what I thought about the book. So let's get started. I want to talk about the books in order. My nails also looking crazy. Like I discussed in my previous video, it's so bad because I literally had my nails like this, the different color that I had, and then I painted them red, and now already I started picking at them. The first book that I will be giving a rating out of 10 is the first book that I read. So I thought that it would be ideal to do it in the order of the books that I have read and uploaded the videos on this channel, just so it's easier to follow. So the first book is Year of Yes by Shonda Rhimes. This book, I really loved it when I read it, and I'm happy that I started with it on my channel. But now when I thought about like what rating I would give it right now, I think I would give it a 7. Now I know that would be different back then, because back I was just so excited, I was pumped about the book. But now when I think about it, like it's not really memorable to me like a lot of maybe the other books that I've read. I loved the book, I took a lot of lessons from the book, but it just didn't like stick with me like a lot of the other books that I have read. Wonderful book, well written, but yeah, just not that like lasting impact. The next book that I'll be giving a rating out of 10 is Mark Manson's The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Bleepity Bleep. So with this book, I mean, I didn't really like the book at all. Like what I drew from the book was some of the lessons that were given by the author. I made a lot of notes while reading the book, but right now, like all in all, it's not something that I would necessarily read again. So I would give it a solid 6, just because some of the content in the book, like I recognize its value, like it definitely made me think and consider a lot of things. But in terms of just the actual book, the style it's written, I didn't like that. A lot of the time I felt like he was being very like confrontational and shouty in the book, which was not a style that I enjoyed. So yeah, it's a solid 6 for this bad boy. Alright, the next book that I reviewed on my channel was Influencer Deluxe by Gifilwe Mabute. And yeah, I like the book. I don't have a physical copy. I read it like online, because when it came out, it didn't come out, the physical copy didn't come out first, because we were still very deep within lockdown at the time. But I would give the book a solid 6 as well, just because like the way that the book was written in terms of the style and stuff like that. I remember picking up some, as you see my dad walking past, I remember picking up like some minor errors and stuff like that, which I didn't necessarily like but the actual content of the book also again was really well done. I like that it chronicled a lot of the things that Gifilwe has gone through. However, in terms of the actual writing, I think that I would have appreciated maybe it was still a little bit in its draft stages. So I would give it a solid 6. I learned a lot from the book. I'm grateful for that, specifically in this sphere of like building a digital brand, that type of thing. I drew value from the book in that regard, but just I think that there's a lot that could have been done to elevate the book. So that's a 6 from me. The next book that I want to talk about was a very difficult read, and if you saw the video, like literally the title of the book, it said this book was hard to finish, ... So if you know which book I'm talking about, comment down below before I actually mention the book. The loyal ones, the real ones, the day ones will know exactly which book I'm talking about. Coconut Carl's Guide to Surviving This Bleep Hole by Lesego Tlhabi. Now, when I did this review, I was really angry. Like after reading the book, it was very difficult for me to read, and that's something that I discussed. So I gave the book a 574 pages, so not long at all, right? But it took me such a long time to get through it because the subject matter was so triggering. Like just living in the country and knowing some of these things, like how real they are. It was satire, right? It's a satire book, but the laughing haha just went over my head because a lot of the things I was like, this really is how society functions in South Africa, but why? And that angered me. So I wasn't able to really enjoy the book. I love Coconut Curls, but I really didn't enjoy this book just because it was just so real. Everything all in one space, saturated. Like I didn't like that. So yeah, solid 5. Like the nuance that she gave the subject matter was amazing, good. The voice that she delivered the book in, right? Like her alter ego, Coconut Curls, love Coconut Curls. However, yeah, the book was, it didn't really, it's not something that I would read again. Because you know, it's a lived experience thing, it's an everyday thing, so that's a 5. The next book that I'm going to talk about is Celestial Bodies by Jakar Al-Hati. And this book, honestly, like it's one of my favorite books that I've read. Like I think right up until this point, it's my favorite book that I've read in my journey on this channel. I would give it a solid 9 just because this book was really, really good. I understand why it won the Man Booker International Prize last year in 2019. So it was a solid read. It was well written, it was sincere, it was relatable. It's a love story, a coming of age story. Like it just like had everything all in one place for me. Work of literary fiction, loved it, and I would recommend. You know, it had historical aspects as well. Yeah, I loved it, so I would definitely give it a solid 9. Why I didn't give it a 10 is because as much as I really enjoyed it, it wasn't necessarily a book that I stayed up all night reading. I remember in my first year out of high school, I read Divergent, the Divergent series, and I stayed up all night reading those books. So I'm still waiting for that book to give me that yeah, this book was a solid, like it was close, 9 out of 10. The next book that I want to talk about was also a book that I read electronically. That's Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng, and I gave Little Fires Everywhere a 7 out of 10 because I enjoyed the book. I loved her writing style, that type of thing, but I was still kind of like reading it through this fog of having watched a series and having felt really strongly about the series. So I feel like maybe if I hadn't watched the series first, I would have felt differently about it, but it wasn't, you know, it was a good book, solid book, but not like wow factor for me. So that's a 7 out of 10. The next book that and really the final book that I'll be reviewing or giving it mark out of 10 is one of my more recent reviews, Born a Crime by Trevor Noah. Loved this book. I gave it an 8 out of 10. Actually, maybe I should change that to a 9 because it was really good. Like this book, it had everything. It had historical context, humor, lived experience, relatable aspects. I learned a lot, I laughed a lot, I enjoyed it, and yeah, like I had mentioned in my previous videos that I don't often like laugh out loud. Like it's like a haha, that's funny, but you know, I actually laughed out loud while reading this book. So yeah, I think that's a 9. Let's revise that, not 8, 9 out of 10. Solid work by Trevor Noah, and I was actually engaging in the comment section of this review with Alyssa from Wonderland, and I was telling her that, you know what, I really think this book should be a set work because it has historical context, but it's funny. I think it's something that high school audiences or even varsity audiences could enjoy and also draw a lot from and have a lot of points to discuss. So it's an all-encompassing journey, and I think that it would definitely be valuable as a set work. So it's a solid 9 out of 10 for me. Shout out to Trevor, and please, I'm still waiting for that sequel. The last book that I'm going to give a rating out of 10 is Siren by Cooley Roberts. I'm actually not gonna say the rating that I gave this book, because I want you to watch my video which I released very recently, and then you'll know the rating. So that is me for this week. Do remember to do all the things to make the things to be done, to grow this channel, to elevate this channel. So engage with me in the comment section. Let me know what rating you would give some of the books that I discussed today out of 10. This is so cool that I'm actually doing this, because it's actually really helping me like chronicle my journey and making me think like, wow, like we've really come a long way on this channel. So I'm really eager for to continue and also just bring diversified content. So that's me for this week, or this post, or this upload, or this whatever you want to call it. Bye for now.